In 2000, I was diagnosed with keratoconus, which is a degenerative eye disease. It took about 7 years until I went from 2020 to 21,000. And I mean, I was really blind. As I was learning how to drive, I slowly got worse, but I was getting more experience driving, so I was able to drive without being able to see. It was just kind of, you just learn to drive by feel. I wore contact lenses that corrected my vision from or up to about 20/60, so I could still see. It was still manageable. But then in 2007, it finally got to the point where my contacts were just getting worse and more thicker and thicker, and my eyes were getting worse and worse. And finally they said, we don't actually make contacts any stronger. You're kind of at the end of your rope here. Your eyes are going to continue to get worse, but we can't correct them anymore. You're just going to have to get a cornea transplant. That will take you out of the sport for 2 years at least. And then on top of that, your corneas will be so fragile that if you crash or hit your head hard enough, it could jar them loose and tear them off. So pretty much at that point, I was like, well, I'm going to have to retire from the sport. The catch is, nobody knew that I had this problem. It was something I kept to myself. It was a secret. I kind of it was very withdrawn from friends and family, and just very kept to myself all the time. And I kind of get into a spiral into a depression. And in 2007, I attempted suicide, and I fortunately failed. I ended up, I took sleeping pills, chased some sleeping pills with some alcohol, and was fortunate to wake up the next day, and that was kind of the moment that I realized I needed to get help. Later in the year, my coach, Brian Scheimer, said, hey, we've got this, we found this doctor in Beverly Hills, Dr. Brian Boxer-Wackler, who has this procedure called C3R, and he'll put these eye drops in your eye and hit it with the UV light and you'll be fixed. And I'm like, really? Like, I've got this degenerative eye disease. I've seen 12 specialists, and everybody says cornea transplant. He's going to put some eye drops in my eye and be fixed. Like, really? But at the time, I had nothing to lose, and the reason I went was to basically say, like, I told you so. But I went out there and had this procedure done, and it's not like you wake up, you sit up from the procedure and you're like, oh, my miraculous vision's back. It was more of a, he's like, well, okay, yeah, that didn't fix your vision yet, but you're not going to get any worse. So the contacts that you have now will still work from here on out. But come back later in March in 2008, and we'll put insertable contact lenses in your eye. Where basically, I have contact lenses tucked behind my iris to correct the vision. And that was the moment where I had went from 21,000 to 20/20. Now I could see everything. I completely forgot about using those sensations of feeling to drive the sled. So I started relying on visual cues, and it was terrible. So I went from being out of the sport because I couldn't see, and now I'm back in the sport but I can't do it because I can see. One day I kind of, it was pretty warm out. It was cold outside but warm inside, and we brought the helmets in, and a thin layer of condensation formed on the inside of my visor. For some reason it just clicked. I said, well, maybe if I just don't clean it and take away some of the vision, maybe that will help. I don't know. And I put the helmet on. It was a little kind of, not necessarily fogged over, but just enough that I just took it away, just enough. And I went down, and it was just like old times. And we were, flying down the hill again super fast. And so I was like, Within a year of having those surgeries, I won the first world championship in 50 years for the United States in 4-man. And almost 2 years to the day, we won an Olympic gold medal.